Today's session is called Journeys to Independence. When we talk about independence, we don't mean just one thing or one way of living. Independence can look different for everyone. For some people, it might look like school. For others, it might look like work. And for some, it might be learning life skills or learning to use supports. Everyone's journey looks different, and today you're going to hear from young people who can share their own experiences. There are no right and wrong answers. We're here to listen and learn from each other. Thank you to our panelists for all being here and being willing to share today. Let's get started by getting to know our panel. And I do see Eric, you popped here into the room, so I was just going off of your part. If you want to go ahead and take over, I'll hand it back over to you, Eric.
Hello. Is it not echoing no more?
Nope, you sound just fine.
Okay. Sorry.
And in case you missed it, we're starting with our introduction slide.
The sorry, I just need to get rid of some of these. The interjection slide. Oh, this one. All right. Give me 1 second, please. Sorry about this. All right, so now read the one I did last time. All right. Um, do I do the question or you didn't start at all? I,
Nope, you can go ahead and start the introductions.
all right. Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for being here today. My name is Eric, and I'll be helping guiding our conversation. Today's session is called Journey to Independence. When we talk about independence, we don't just mean one thing or one way of living. Independence can look different for everyone. For some, it might look like school. For others, it might look like for work, or it might look like learning life skills or using support. Everyone's journey looks different. Today, we'll hear from young young people sharing their own experiences. There are no right or wrong answers. We are here to listen and learn from each other. Thank you to our panelists for being here and willingly to share today. Let's start by getting let's start by getting to know our panelists. This question is for everyone on the panel. Please share your name, your age, or where you're from. Thank you.
Let's go ahead and start with Ivy.
Hello, my name is, hang on, I didn't realize. I'm sorry. Okay. Oops. Okay, I'm ready. Hello, my name is Ivy Sanakash. This is my name sign. I'm 36 years old. I'm from Polaca, Arizona, on the Hopi Reservation. I currently live in Arizona as well. Spell town you live. Hello, everyone. Interpreter missed the name of the town where she lives currently. Apologize.
Okay, let's have Darian go next. Darian, are you with us? Are you able to unmute and share your introduction?
He said his mute was not working.
Oh, okay. Okay. If he can figure that out, we will go to Shelby. Shelby, are you able to unmute and share your introduction? Okay, we'll have Isaac go ahead and share.
Hello, everyone. I am Isaac Zwinger Nathanson. I am 27 years old, and I am currently in Tucson, Arizona. And I'm grateful to be here.
And Anya, are you with us? Are you able to unmute and share?
Yes, I'm Anya. I'm 30 and I live in Phoenix, Arizona.
Thank you so much. I'm gonna just double check again to see if either Darian or Shelby, are you able to unmute and share? Okay.
Elizabeth, this is Rosa. I do think Darian is trying to log on a different device.
Okay, perfect. We'll go ahead and give that just a minute, but we'll go and move to the next slide. And then Eric, it's all you.
Mm. Now we're going to start talking about school and education. This this question is for Ivory and Darian, I believe I pronounced that right. What was school like for you? Was there anything that felt hard? Was there anything that helped you? Have the then have the speakers, the presenters, it's your turn.
Perfect. We'll have Ivy go ahead and share her experience with school. Thank you.
Um, I grew up in public school, mainstream public school, and then I used an interpreter and, worked with teachers, children of the deaf. That was a little bit of a struggle. I learned education, I learned English and writing and all of these things. It was a struggle to communicate a little bit with other kids. When I was in undergrad, I remember I transferred to Arizona School for the Deaf and Blind. And my mom didn't really want me to go there because if I went to school there, she thought I wouldn't come back home. So then I was more focused and, maybe she thought I would just disregard my native culture. So I stayed with my family, and I learned my Native Hopi culture and my practices, my tribal practices. Uh, yeah, so it was an interesting discussion with the family and with the teachers in that environment. And there was a lot of encouragement to go to school. And I said, hey, I would, I have college goals. They said Ivy has college goals. She wants to become successful. And, my parents kind of looked at me. So it was this sort of back and forth. with all of that. And then that was that discussion about my future. So I said to my parents, I would really like to transfer to ASDB. And my parents accepted that eventually. And I lived in a dorm, and it really changed my life. It was eye-opening. There was a lot of communication with the staff and the dorm staff, the teachers, other students, deaf students, friends. My sign language skills improved greatly. There was a lot of communication. It was just really, people were really friendly. So, yeah, that was a good experience for me. I think Ivy is done.
Thank you. And it looks like we're having some technical difficulties with some of our panel members. And so, Eric, we can go ahead and go into the next section. Uh, I have the next questions on the screen.
All right. Now let's talk about what happened after high school. This question's for Ivy and Shelby. I think that's how I pronounce it, right? What did you do after high school? How did you decide that was, sorry, how did you decide that was what was your next step for you?
And we'll
It's
just have Ivy go ahead and keep sharing her story for this question. Go ahead, Ivy.
Well, in 2008, I graduated high school and decided that I'd stay for two more years to work on my education, such as writing and reading, so that I'd be better prepared for college. I graduated in 2010, got my diploma, and went to Pima Community College, mainstreaming there, and it was very frustrating. Um, it made me think of when I was mainstream before with using interpreters and working with hearing students, non-deaf students. It was overwhelming. Did that for 3 years. And I had a hard time because scheduling interpreters for tutoring or group studies or study groups and that kind of thing. So it was very difficult. I gave up doing that in 2013. I was trying to figure out, what I wanted to do. Then my VR counselor suggested that I go to Helen Keller National Center and to connect with them for the young adults in New York because I'm deafblind and I needed some training and things, low vision, so that I could have independence as I get older in life. So I decided to do that and signed up for the Helen Keller National Center, and it changed my life. Just as going to the School for the Deaf at ASDB, this was another instrumental moment for me, uh, learning more about the deaf-blind world at the center and the groups there and the communication access, learning how to do what's called pro-tactile signing, um, and got training on that in the dark and learning Braille and using a cane and living in New York City for a year. I then decided I wanted to go back to college. And so I decided to go to Gallaudet University in Washington, D.C. in 2014. And there are deaf people from all over the world there. And so it was very instrumental. Deaf, hard of hearing, deaf blind individuals there. And what an experience. I had access to communication, sign language, nothing like PCC, Pima Community College. It was so different. I struggled there with appointments and arranging for interpreters. But at Gallaudet, it wasn't an issue really. Of course, you had to make appointments for meetings and things, but it was all in sign language. and I had the help I needed. And so when I graduated Gallaudet, I graduated with a 3.76 GPA. Magna cum laude. And in art and technology design, that was my degree that I majored in. And I completed my studies.
Thank you so much for sharing, Ivy. I do want to check and see if Darian was able to get his microphone working.
Sorry, my phone wasn't working.
That's okay. Darian, we're so glad you're with us. Would you like to tell the audience what it is that you did after high school and why you decided that that was the right next step for you?
Um, when I did after high school, I decided to um go to TLCC college, and when I graduated, I decided I want to work, but at the same time, I want to go to school and get my diploma again because it feels like the same old days when I was in school. And it reminds me of my graduation day.
Thanks, Darian. What kind of classes are you taking at the TOCC?
Art class.
Very good. Thank you. All right. So we can go ahead, Eric, and continue.
They finished the high school one.
Yep, now we're on the supports.
Thank you. Sorry. This is my Wi-Fi's a little iffy, but I'll try this.
You're
Thank
doing
you.
great.
Thank you. Now we're going to talk about support and education. This question is for Ivy. Who or what helped you while you were in school or training? This 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 could be a person, a program, or a thing that helped you. You have the so you have the floor.
This is Ivy. In high school, I remember back in high school, I had a counselor. Uh, Her name was Kathy. And I knew that Kathy and my parents wanted me to go to college and, or work or get some training. And Kathy knew my situation. She worked with me. And we talked about plans and IEPs and things for my future, whether I wanted to go to school or college. And then we talked about what career would be a good fit for me. Kathy said, "What about working in a dental lab or as a teacher?" You know, threw out options for me, and I really wasn't sure what I wanted to do. It was a hard choice to make, and Kathy, my counselor, recommended training for a job training, such as they've gotten better now, but maybe such as maybe working in video or photography, and and you do this inventory to see what your score is or what you're sort of aligned with. And my choices kept changing, because I had a few choices, but my second choice was OM, orientation and mobility. And so, and cane work, um, so that you can have more independence getting around town, public transportation. And that really helped me to get around and to be safe because I can't hear when vehicles are nearby or close to me. And so that was very instrumental. And I've gotten so much better in being safe and navigating. So my counselor, wanted me to go ahead and sign up for vocational rehabilitation to get more support. And they were able to support me with Pima Community College or some training, Helen Keller National Center. So they helped me with the applications, and we discussed a lot of these things in my IEP meetings, planning ahead to be a teacher or whatever, various careers options. And so after high school, I continued with working with VR and their services, and also I had another VR counselor on the Hopi reservation that was helping me and working with me. And VR supported me with my dorms at Gallaudet, orientation, lodging, and they also helped me with my books and the things that I needed. They really were instrumental in supporting me with my needs until I graduated. And then after graduation, they continued to work with me on getting a job and career so that I could be independent and have gainful employment.
Go ahead, Eric.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing, Sweetie. And now we're gonna talk about works and jobs. This question is for Shelby. I'm Ivy and is it Shelby if I'm pronouncing that right. Are you working now or have you worked before? How did you get that job? Or or what kind of work do you think you might want to do in the future? You have the floor.
So it looks like Shelby's still having some trouble connecting, so we're actually going to have Isaac go ahead and answer this question. Are you working?
Hello. Yeah. So yes, I currently have a part-time employment at Disabilities Incorporated. I work to help facilitate our programs in the schools as well as our summer program, Arizona Youth Leadership Forum, um, and I help facilitate some of our other programming that is asked of me. And then I am a patient transporter at Banner UMC, and I do that mostly on the weekends.
Isaac, can you share, is there any type of work that you think you might want to do in the future that's different from what you're currently doing?
So it's a little different, but it's still within the realm of the healthcare and health medicine. I want to be an occupational therapist, and I want to specifically work with pediatric patients that have recently become who have obtained a disability, and however that might look. And then after doing some work in the hospitals, and I'd like to open my own clinic and hire people with disabilities to help run the clinic.
Thanks, Isaac. And we'll have Ivy go ahead and speak to this question as well.
Well, my first job was at Safeway because in high school I was able to get some job training there, and it was connected to school somehow, and I was able to work. And so I thought, let me apply at Safeway. And at the same time, college, I was doing college, and it just didn't work doing both. So I left there and stayed focused on college. And then I was able to get some more training. Um, I think I worked at Old Navy as well. Um, it felt sort of different, and I was sort of aimless for a bit. I kept at it till I graduated at Gallaudet in graphic design, and I wanted to find some graphic design work, but it's just not very plentiful for someone like me. You've got to really uh, work on specific. You got to choose from a specific list, and it wasn't a really good fit for me. So I kept looking, and found a job as a night or a caretaker, as a residential advisor at the dorms at ASDB. I did that for 3 years, 4 years thereabouts, and then working overnight was tough, very difficult for me. So it really affected my life. So I decided to stop doing that. And my dad had recently passed away, so I moved to be closer to home. Found a job um, at Cameron Trading, the Cameron Trading Post, and that's in Cameron. Started, in the cleaning department. Did that for about 2.5 years, cleaning bathrooms and doing a lot of the dishes and vacuuming and cleaning. And my manager thought that I'd be better suited in the accounting department, though. I wasn't sure about that, but I took the challenge and joined the accounting department and started learning accounting. And I felt like, I was really learning things and learning about business. And it started me to think about, being a business director, uh, and maybe going back to college for my master's degree. But it really started the juices flowing, and as far as my future career and what I wanted to do. And there's a lot more flexibility. And it doesn't matter if you have a disability, is what I learned really. If you have a dream and you have some kind of passion, some kind of motivation, you can do whatever you want to do.
Thank you. Now we're gonna did this right. Give me 1 second. Okay, yeah, it did. All right, look through. Now we're gonna talk about employment resources. I'm going to hand it off to the Anna or Anya. I think Anya. I think I pronounced. Sorry, I'm bad with names. To talk about employment resources.
All right, so some employment resources that are available are vocational rehabilitation, especially tribal VR, centers for independent living, employment programs, and Arizona at Work.
Thank you. Now we're gonna talk about life skills and independent living. This question's for Isaac. What has your journey with independent living look like? Yeah, you have the floor.
So I would say that, like we've said at the beginning of our presentation, that independent living is going to look different for everyone. And so, right out of high school, I stayed and I went to the University of Arizona, and I stayed close to home, just with knowing what my resources were here in Tucson, and just also being close to family and my support system. Um, uh, Even though I applied to schools outside of the state and did get in. Um, so I stayed home the first uh, my freshman year of college, but I was getting to and from school sometimes with my parents who were professors at the university or who are professors at the university, or I would take an Uber, or I would carpool with some friends who also decided to stay home and who um, were close by that could pick me up and take me over, and I would get a ride back with someone different depending on the day. And so I did that freshman year, and then I decided that I wanted to try to get my first apartment, and so some friends and I were looking at some apartments near the university, and we found one that we really liked, and I, was there for um, a little over a semester and a half, and some, some things fell through, and so I moved back in with my parents. Um, and then we all know that COVID happened, and so I remained with, um, I remained at my parents, but at the same time, I, was discovering that I wanted to do something in healthcare, and so an apartment for myself that I was using more so as a um, place for me to go to and from before my shifts and after my shift, so that I could not bring things home to my family, because that was a scary time, and I didn't want to get my family sick. So I would, make sure that I wasn't bringing things to the hospital, and vice versa. I wasn't bringing things away from the hospital that I could give to other people. Um, and so currently now I live part time with my parents, and then I also have an apartment close to the hospital and kind of mid Tucson, that I go and stay over every so often. It's not consistent, but it's still something that is my place, and so I think that I can make that decision if I wanted to. At this moment, I could go over to my apartment. I could stay there for a week, for a month, for 3 days. So it just depends on what I need and what the needs of my family needs.
Thank you. Now let's talk about life skills. Life skills you're still working on. This question's for Isaac. What are some things you still want to learn to do more independently?
So I would say I'm a fairly independent person. I know how to do my own laundry. I do my own personal care. Um, that includes going to my own doctor's visits and scheduling those, going to the dentist, doing all of those kinds of things. But I think one thing that I'd like to be able to do is um, that I think would definitely be more a benefit is when I do decide to move out of state and into a bigger city that has a better public transportation system. I think that I would like to re-engage in some of those skills that I had on navigating public transportation, learning the systems and getting used to that. And having to add travel, budget wise, transit cards and paying for buses and stuff into my budget. Um, Another skill that I think I'd like to learn is being able to file my own taxes in a with an accountant. I kind of partner with my parents on some of that, so that they look over it with their accountant and see if everything is good. But I still fill out the forms. So I'd like to be able to do that more independently. Um, and maybe learn a little bit more about the credit world. I think I have a grasp on it, but that's all. I think that's one that's kind of evolving every year. So maybe having a better handle on credit credit cards and reward points and all of that. But those would be some of the things that I would be interested in learning more about.
Eric, we can go ahead and move on to the staying connected to your culture and community question. And we can ask any of our panel members. Ivy, Darian, Anya, Isaac. We would love to hear from anybody. How are you staying connected to your community, to your culture?
So I can start. One way that I stay connected with my community and as it changes and as it grows is definitely utilizing technology. I have friends on different social media platforms as well as personal cell phone numbers, and so I'll reach out to them every so often when it's I I remember, but also when just around the holidays and stuff, I like to send messages. I try to be a little bit more intentional as well. Just a random day I'm thinking of them, I'll shoot them off a text and just say, "Hey, I'm thinking of you." Um, I do community events here and there. I'm a runner, so I try to incorporate friends to join me in my races and trainings and such. And I do a fair amount of travel for both work and personal travel. So I'll go to them to visit them and in their cities as well as they'll come to Arizona and visit. So those are just some ways that I um, stay connected intentionally to my community and my culture.
Thank you, Isaac. Ivy, do you have anything to share about staying connected with your community or your culture?
This is Ivy speaking. Staying connected with my culture. I still, live around the Hopi Reservation, and I learn from the elders and I pick new things up. I'm trying to stay around those traditions, and my community helps me learn those and keep those traditions that we cherish. I want to stay connected and respect the traditions and the community. I also have the blind and deaf communities that I'm part of. And I try to stay in touch with those and continue communication in sign language and different modalities as well.
Beautiful, thank you. Okay, go ahead, Eric.
Thank you. We're almost done. We have one final question. This question's for everyone on the panel. If you could talk to another young person who is figuring out school, work, or life, what would you want them to know?
Why don't we start with Darian? Darian, what kind of advice, what would you tell to another young person who is figuring out their journey to independence?
Keep studying and keep working and doing your schooling and just keep going and graduate like me.
Thanks, Darian. Isaac, do you have any advice that you would give to a young person who's navigating these things?
Yeah, so I first thing is first, your transition into adulthood and your life story and your experiences are your own. And comparing it to what you see on social media and what your friends are doing is is um, is a tricky thing. You definitely, you can, you should, you can look at that to kind of gauge where you want to be as kind of a goal, but you should never try to compare your journey to someone else's journey because you don't know what's being done. You don't know what's behind closed doors. And I think that's harder said than done. And I know that I'm guilty of doing it too. But your journey is your own, and making make decisions based on what you are ready for and what you're comfortable for um, is really important. Um, I also think too that you want to try to push yourself a little bit out of your comfort zone because staying within, staying sometimes staying too comfortable um, is maybe you're maybe the problem. That's not to say that you can't stay in your bubble, but I think being uncomfortable is part of growing and learning and understanding yourself. Um, and independence does not mean that you're doing everything by yourself. Not one person, who is, is doing something all by themselves independently. That's just not how our world works. A lot of people go to the experts in the room and the experts of that certain subject. That's why we have accountants. That's why we have lawyers. That's why we have doctors. You go to those people to figure out things. No one person knows everything. So I definitely think it's important to rely on your support systems and to really find the 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 person in the room that knows that subject the most and or is an expert on that, and rely on those people to help guide you to resources and making the right decision that's best for you, um, and to have fun. I mean, life is, there's so much opportunity, and so always look at opportunities and challenges with an open mind because you never know what's on the other end of that um, door, if you will.
Thank you. And Ivy, if you could talk to another young person who's figuring these things out, what would you want them to know?
Well, I would say, to make sure that you work hard through high school, and even it's never too late. If you want to work or go to college, talk with your counselor. Talk with your get connected to VR. Whether it's you work with the state or the tribal VR, they can help you towards your career goals, and they can work with you whether it's college or work or trainings. In as far as college, they can help cover tuition, room and board, and help you make good choices in your career choices. Uh, or if it's just to get a job, okay? But whatever it is, um, keep at it. And if you're not sure what you want to do, you can make those changes and keep changing until you get a right fit and have a happy life. And it's nice to travel around too. Try to get out, and I think it really makes a big difference in your life.
Okay, thank you. And now we're just going to have Anya come on and go through some of these resources.
Perfect. We have resources provided. You can scan the QR codes on the side of the, I don't know which side that is, right-hand side. We're all looking at the same side, right? Okay. We also have the links available. So there's vocational rehabilitation, as mentioned. Arizona at Work, great at work program for people who have disabilities. Arizona Job Connection, Encircle Families, which is a really good organization as well, a nonprofit organization. List of centers for independent living by state. So this will give you state and which I believe it's county, right? That they're available to the person by. Next, we have another slide for the Arc of Arizona, the Southwest Institute for Families and Children, Disability Rights Arizona, and Native American Disability Law Center. So again, you guys can scan the QR code, but you'll also be getting this presentation so that you could have the links available to you as well.
Okay, and Eric, you can go ahead and wrap us up.
Thank, thank you to our panelists for being here and sharing your experiences. Thank you to the audience for listening and being a part of this conversation. If you have questions or want to learn more, our contact information is on this slide. Thank you and enjoy the rest of your time at the summit.